Hi everybody, Shana Tova, welcome back. This is our first video of the new cycle of reading the Torah, the 5 books of Moses. It's a fresh beginning, and next week we will begin again studying together Wednesdays, 7:30 p.m. Everybody's invited. I'm also just setting up my first Patreon page for anybody who wants to support these videos or this work. You're very welcome to do so. Please be in touch. This week's Parsha is Bereshit, the beginning. And it's interesting to note just a couple of thoughts on the Parsha in relation to where we are in the year. We've just had the festivals as Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, the big New Year and the big fast day, and then we move through Sukkot and into Simchat Torah. And as we get to Simchat Torah, it's both an end and a beginning. And the interesting part of the quality of the festival is that we don't stop. The last Parsha, V'zot HaBracha, which ends the book of Devarim and ends the whole entire Torah reading cycle, we actually read on Simchat Torah. And then immediately, as if without even pausing, we go on to read the opening verses of Bereshit. So it's almost as if the end is sewn to the beginning. And I think this in some way or other represents the anxiety of this part of the year, that beginning again can be tough. And there's a beauty in that quality of just starting not with the entirety of the Torah, but just with the first verses, learning again, beginning again. And I guess in relation to the study of Parsha, beginning in the deepening of reading the same verses once again, but hopefully, please God, in the next year ahead, finding more meaning and more depth and more journeying through those very same verses. But as always, when we learn Torah together, we are a bit different each time we revisit those verses. That's the intention and the ambition of this year of learning, and the intention and ambition also of these videos. I think we're thinking a lot about that aspect of beginning, and one of the beginnings that occurs to me is the first war memorial, the first memorial of those who were murdered in the Shoah, the Holocaust, which was put up in the center of Warsaw, where the Warsaw Ghetto stood immediately after the guns drew silent at the end of the Second World War. And it's a simple bet. And it's a bet above a circular cover, modeled cover of a sewer system, of a sewer top. And the Jews from the Warsaw Ghetto and those who survived and remained and returned to Warsaw literally came up out of the sewers and out of their places of hiding, and decided that immediately then and there they needed to build a memorial for those who didn't make it through the war and through those years of murder and terror. And the image that they chose to represent that was the bet of Bereshit, the bet of beginning again, the bet of a simple letter, which is also bayit, is also a representation of a home, the most simple structure, like the sukkah, a roof and a wall, which protects and which shelters. And where more so could you find an image of the difficulty and great courage that was needed to begin again than that image of people coming back to Warsaw and returning out of their place of hiding and simply beginning again, both by memorializing what came before and also expressing the ambition to begin again, to begin in verses of Torah and to begin in verses of one step in front of the other, going forward. And then I just wanted to in relation to the reading of Bereshit, which is a description of the story of creation, what is it that we should be doing with the story of creation as we begin this new year? I think 2 images come to mind. One is simply an understanding and a vision of the world as created. And the Hasidic understanding also understands that there is this divine energy which nourishes, feeds, and sustains the world. And in exactly the same way, we have this image also in relation to Rosh Hashanah, in exactly the same way that divine power sustains the world, that power can also be removed from the world and return it to tohu vavohu, return it to the chaotic chaotic mode that it existed in before. And whether or not you're a God believer or a semi-God believer or a doubter, we are seeing that played out at this moment in our world. We have a world that seemingly is not just going to be around forever, and our world is contingent on humans' capacity to protect and humans' capacity to destroy. And if we continue down the path of destruction, it might very well be that our world will be returned to a much more chaotic state than what we know of now. The other part that I wanted to dwell on, so the call is in Parsha Bereshit to be a people who protect the world and to take their understanding of the seriousness of that job significantly more seriously. The other aspect that I wanted to dwell on is the aspect of Adam, the aspect of human beings as created during the days of creation, and singularly one human being, Zachar v'Nekeva, male and female, but singularly one human being. And the Midrash inside the Mishnah of Sanhedrin says, why one human being? One is to understand that all human beings come from one being, and that there is a unity in humanity. And again, that comes, I think, to teach us, whilst it's very nice to feel self-important, very nice to feel communally better than other communities, there is an aspect taught at the core of our Torah that all human beings are created equal and all communities share the same divinity and the same sanctity. And particularly at this time of fear, particularly among women in the UK, around violence that's being experienced on our streets, we should all be very, very conscious of that shared dignity that needs to be protected in all of our societies and all of our communities. The last aspect is a very famous midrash, which is in the same section of the Mishnah, which also relates to the aspect of protection of human dignity, which is that the understanding of the Torah that if we ma'abed echad b'nei adam, if you lose or make somebody suffer, one person in the world, is if you lose or make somebody suffer, the whole world to suffer. And the same is true that if you makayem nefesh echad, that if you protect or raise up or show dignity to one person or one human, it's as if you create dignity and lift up every single human being in the whole world. So we have a lot of responsibility in this Shabbat, in the Shabbat of Bereshit, to both be protective of the world, protecting of individual human dignity, and also to begin again in this cycle of Torah study and in the cycle of learning and deepening our learning, one step and one letter at a time. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Shana Tova. Look forward to a new year of learning together. Let me know how you like these videos. Speak soon.